Now, my name is Rosalia Grillier. Most people call me Miss Rose. I'm chair of COFI board, one of the president emeritus of Power Pack, Illinois. And also, I was one of the folks that did the interviews for this and on the actual host committee. And so at this point, I really want to know who else is on the call with us because I'm so grateful for you. So if you could start to populate the chat, um, tell us your name, the community you're from, and one thing you hope to take away from this webinar or any other brief snippets you want to share. And I'll give folks a few minutes to do that before we dive into this next piece. Okay, as you guys are continuing to populate the chat, thank you so much. I wanted to share a little bit about COFI and Power Pack, Illinois. COFI, Community Organizing and Family Issues, to just break that acronym down a little bit. Is the advocacy arm that helps parents understand and provide some tools to help them operate more effectively in their leadership or even understand the way that they want to operate in their leadership. It's a nonprofit organization. We've been around for our coming up on, and everyone please attend our 30th anniversary celebration. There will be more stuff online for you to gauge and understand exactly how you'll be involved in that. We've been around since 1995. I won't tell you how long I've been around in COFI, but quite a minute. COFI trains the very same parents who become these fabulous leaders that we know as Power Pack Illinois. Parents organize to win, educate, and renew Policy Action Council. And the Illinois piece came in because we were once directly in Chicago and we've expanded across Illinois where we have our many branches that are doing amazing work across the state of Illinois and across the country for that fact. We go to Springfield every year with a legislative docket that we present to legislators to advocate for the things that we know will help our communities work better or the things that are challenging our communities and we want them not to support. Uh, Kofi, and welcome everyone. I see a great population in the chat. Thank you guys so much. Um, we predominantly service Black and Brown communities, mostly women, but we have awesome fathers and a sprinkle of everything. So everyone is welcome at COFI. That just happens to be the demographic at this point. Um, our work in Illinois has led us to work in partnership with so many different organizations and we've also been a part of a lot of the positive change that you've seen happen around children's savings accounts, around the legislation around the tax credit, and so many other things that we don't have enough time to list on this particular call. But the COFI Way is a model that we share because we know it works well. We know that a lot of the challenges are rooted in systems and policies. And so we advocate so that folks can be the change that they want to see. The COFI Way helps parents develop the skills, the confidence, the organization power to improve things in their schools, in their communities, and also in public policies. So kudos to all of the amazing parents who are on the ground doing this kind of work. Um, we like to connect the COFI Way to the core values that people have. We believe that leadership begins within and spreads abroad, and parents have proven that abroad. We start right where parents are. I'll say that I can say firsthand that that's where COFI met me. I won't go into the story. You can read about it online because we share everything. We don't want you to reinvent the wheel. But parents make good community leaders. Parents are great communicators. Parents share their stories that help impact systems, and policies in a positive way. Um, and parents know that as they're living the day-to-day issues of families, uh, they have rocked systems and policies to make sure that they are operating well for our families, in a way that is impacting not only their families, but their communities, and oftentimes the city and state as well. We also believe that collective leadership and collaboration, as I mentioned before, we work with several partners in a lot of the issues that we tackle. And we work in true partnership because we know that we are better together than we are apart. I won't keep talking to you on and on because I really want you to go in after this and read this report in detail. Visit us online at kofionline.org to get more details and see the amazing work that parents are doing here in Illinois. But I want us to be able to get into this because it's amazing. So I'm going to turn things over to our one of our amazing leaders that spearheaded this in partnership with NYU, and I admire her so much. Let's bring to the table to take us the rest of the way, Jennifer Cosleone. And please give her a hand. If you don't do it out loud, do it in your heart. Jennifer?
Thank you so much, Miss Rose. Thank you all for joining this call today. I'm really excited to share some of the findings from this study. My name is Jennifer Cosleone, as Ms. Rose just said. I'm an associate research professor at the UC Merced Community and Labor Center and the co-principal investigator of the Parent Power and Leadership Project. I want to acknowledge Joanna Geller, who's here, saw her in the chat, principal investigator of this project, as well as our research team, Sarah McAllister, Wendy Perez, Danielle Perry, and Fabienne Doucette at the NYU Metropolitan Center for Research and Equity and the Transformation of Schools, or for short, NYU Metro Center. I also want to thank the Spencer Foundation, who funded this research, and of course, a big thank you to all of the parent leaders across Illinois, at COFI, and across the country who made this project possible. So next, I'm going to share some background of the Parent Power and Leadership Project. So the project is a two-phase, four-year study aiming to understand the landscape and the effects of progressive leadership and organizing across the country. How many of these groups exist? What issue areas do they focus on? Where are they located? And then later, what effects do this type of work have on the learning and growth of families, right? So during phase one, we conducted a landscape analysis, and this was a survey that was created with the help of a group of 27 parent leaders, organizing staff, and some funders. And this reached 182 groups across the country doing leadership and organizing with parents. Some of what we learned was that uh, parent leadership and organizing groups are located in every US state, that Black and Latino parents are the base of parent leaders. We learned that there's a multi-issue focus and organizations provide holistic family supports. I'm going to drop, I don't think I can drop in the chat because for some reason I'm only able um, to send a chat to hosts and panelists, but maybe after the webinar, we'll share both the landscape analysis and the parent power map that I will mention in a sec. So in addition to the report for phase one, we created a parent power map among the groups that gave us permission to use the organization name and the information that they shared to create a parent power map so that folks could connect to one another and they could share resources and um, really see where one another is and connect on issue areas or on future training or other kinds of make other connections that folks wanted to make. The second phase were the five case studies, including Illinois, which is what we're focused on today, and also California, Massachusetts, Louisiana, and Washington. And there were five organizations in this project, or there are five organizations in this project, including COFI. The other is the Mixteco Indígena Community Organizing Project, or MICOP, Collaborative Parent Leadership Action Network, or CPLAN, Ubuntu Village, Parent Ambassadors. So this is in fact, a national study that is looking and answering the types of questions you'll hear about today. So what was our main research question? The case studies had this guiding question that's on the screen. How do parent leadership and community organizing shape the learning and growth of youth and families? We answered this question in part with 24 in-depth interviews held both in English and Spanish. Interviews were held from February 2023 to August 2024. Most of them, as Ms. Rose mentioned earlier, were co-led with design committee members. So parent leaders were interviewing each other in this process. And this included 15 interviews with children ranging in age from 7 to 23. With some of the younger kids, we did drawing activities and talked about the drawings that they made and created. And we also did family focus groups once we had individually spoken to youth and adults in the family. I want to give a big thank you to the design committee members because they were part of the process from the very beginning. We really wanted the study to be informed by parent leaders doing the organizing work. We wanted the study to be co-led by parent leaders doing the work. And, we also wanted this to be something that could further the work of organizing that COFI and Power Pack is doing, right? And so we had five design committee members listed on this page: Felipa Mena, Rosalia Grelier, Liliana Olayo, Letty Hicks, and Ellen Schumer, who's COFI's executive director. And I should note that each of the national sites has its own design committee that oversees all aspects of the research in that specific site. I also want to acknowledge, again, Joanna Geller, who is the PI overseeing all five of the projects. So before I present some of the findings, I want to pass it over to Liliana, Lily Olayo, to share a bit about the design committee. She was one of the members, and so I'll pass it to you, Lily, and then I'll continue with some of the findings.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. And hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. Well, I was also part of the design committee, and the design committee met 9 times through the 2 years of the project. We decided how the 5 parents would be selected, and we wanted to have equitable process. So we have parents from both outside of Chicago and fathers, parents with kids who were different ages and who spoke English and Spanish as a primary language. During the Q&A, can talk about the interest form, the focus groups, then the picking out of the hats for the final selection. It was hard because our parent leaders are amazing, all of them. We designed the interview guide, the questions we asked families, making sure that the words we use were easy to understand, especially for interview with kids. We took an IRB, Institutional Review Board, training through the New York University to officially be part of the research team and conduct interviews and focus groups with Jennifer. We then review Jennifer's analysis of the findings. We read transcripts, read drafts of the right. We talk about how we wanted the report to look like, and with photos and storytelling, and for it to be in English and Spanish. Jennifer will share now the findings, which you can read more in the report also. So this wasn't easy. It was a project like they took 2 years, over 2 years. And now I will take it back to Jennifer.
Thank you, Lily. Okay, so as you can read in the reports, which we'll drop a link of the reports in the chat, the study report highlights 5 organizing families, and you're absolutely right, Lily. It was really hard to select the families, and ultimately, um, we had a great diverse group that had both racial, ethnic, geographic um, um, variation among leaders. So we were really happy to provide really a snapshot of organizing families in Illinois. So in the report, each of the family stories starts with a little history of the parent, right? The lead parent leader engaged in Power Pack. We talk about some of the activities that the parent does, the campaigns they were involved in, of course, some of the wins, some of the lessons learned, um, the types of things that they did, both individually or with their families, like taking trips to the state capitol, to Springfield. And then importantly, how each family has uniquely seen changes in their children and in their partners and in their families as a result of engaging in this work. And so in the report, you can read about Marisol Luna, Delia Perez, Isaiah Rogers, Urania Thomas, Katrina Faulkner, and Kakisha Beasley. I should note that while parents asked to be named, some of their children's names are pseudonyms to protect their privacy. Okay, so what did we learn? We learned that when parents engage in leadership and organizing, their children and families are also learning 3 main things. Collective change is possible, our voices are important, and of course, they're also learning leadership skills. So, how? How does this happen? Well, through the process of modeling, active listening, modeling, like standing up for what's right, better communication, active listening, as folks are learning in their COFI Way training, advocating, going to Springfield, talking to legislators, organizing town halls, surveying their communities in order to advocate for more resources, being a bridge for information, bridging information. What kind of information? Resources, but also bridging skills, right? Different kinds of skills that folks are bringing into the group. These are all processes that are developed through the COFI Way models. And it's important to know that the COFI Way starts from the fact that parents are already leaders in their families, and they further develop these skills, and in doing so, have far-reaching effects. So next, I'm going to share some examples of the approaches that parent leaders are taking and the types of activities that they're engaging in that are influencing family learning. The first quote is from one of the participants' family members, Noel, which is Marisol's partner. He says, she speaks to them much better, referring to their children, gives them advice, gives me advice, and there's more communication in the family. An example of advocating is from Yarel, a 10-year-old. My mom is intelligent, smart, and amazing, and fights so that students have healthier lunches. The next is listening. This is from one of our profiled parents, Kakisha. She said, they always have input, referring to her children. Always. I'm not just looking at them as the little guys, and I'm the authority type person. So there's a sense of democracy in the household and a sense of listening to their children for their input, right? And last is bridging. And this example comes from Isaiah, who said, "It makes me feel good to be able to guide them or to refer them to somebody that they can get some help with. I have more resources now." And here he's referring to his children and his family and his network, where he now has more information and resources to share with them. Okay, so next I'm going to share how these activities are now translating to youth and family learning. First, collective change is possible. And this is a quote from Josh, a 23-year-old, who said, "One of the key learnings has been the importance of collective action. By seeing and hearing how Power Pack Illinois leaders work together with other families, I've realized that our voices are stronger and more impactful." The next is a quote from Ashley, an 18-year-old. "It feels good to help my community because I know that it helps in a positive way." Our voices are important. Next is a quote from Daryl, who said, "Our family is a vibrant mix of cultures, and we cherish the diversity that makes us who we are. I'd love to see my family even more involved in community." Chocolate Drop talked about the importance of the meetings his dad goes to. He said, "If he goes to important meetings, I go with him all the time. I like to go."
Chocolate Drop dijo, si él va a juntas importantes,
Leadership skills. My Shayla, who was one of the teens that we interviewed, she was 14. She described how she was an advocate for mental health and anti-bullying at her school. She is a peer mentor who encourages classmates to attend class on time and to resolve conflict peacefully. Jermira, 10-year-old, said, "Kids can basically lead like adults can," right? So really emphasizing the ways in which leadership happens within children as they're seeing their parents involved in the community. Next, I'll share some of the implications. There are many, and listed on this screen are three. First, we need to recognize the transformative effects of parent leadership, development, and organizing. That means that recognizing that when you train one parent, it affects a whole family. For any funders in the room, I ask, how are you taking into account these effects that are so hard to quantify? When one parent engages in organizing, it has a ripple effect, to use the language of a previous report published by NYU Metro Center. In these divisive times, this perhaps is one place we can be leaning in. Two, support the leadership and organizing of parent leaders. This means supporting the work because doing truly family-friendly cross-state organizing requires resources, flexibility, organizing staff that are also supported, intentionality, planning, childcare, food budgets. Did I say resources? To say the least, it is worthwhile, but also requires funding and support. And last, imagine if kids were learning organizing and leadership skills intentionally in K through 12 curriculum and that continuing into high school. Not only learning the history of organizing among people of color stemming from the very start of our nation, but also having kids learn how to, formulate a letter to their local representative or organize a petition or conduct a one-on-one. Perhaps some of the Power Pack family youth know how to do this, but what about the others? How can we potentially plant a seed so that youth grow up with these transformational skills to change the world? And as you could tell, my puppy's very excited about these implications. I encourage you to read the report, share it with your friends, and look out for more from the Parent Power and Leadership Study findings from other sites that are coming soon and will be compiled and shared. So now I'd like to invite our esteemed panelists, design committee members, and parents who are spotlighted in the report. Okay, so I invite you all to unmute because we're going to have a conversation about your involvement in this whole process. So we'd like to start with a small introduction. Please tell us your name and whether you were in a design committee or whether you were spotlighted in the report along with your family. So I see we have Felipa, we have Marisol, Katrina, Lily, Rose.
As everything is populating, I'll go ahead and start. So, Miss Rose, Rosalia Grillier, whatever you feel more comfortable with. I was one of the design committee members and actually with the project from the beginning.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liliana Olayo, as I mentioned before. I also one of the designing committee members.
Hi, everybody. My name is Felipe Mena. I am co-chair emeritus from Coffee Power Pack, and I am the design committee too soon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katrina Faulkner, one of the parent leaders who's featured right along with my family inside of the book and has been part of Power Pack for the last decade. Thank you all for being here.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es
Hello, good
Marisol
afternoon. My name
Luna
is
y
Marisol
yo
Luna,
soy una madre líder
and I'm a
ah, y he
mom,
participado
a
ya
mother
por cinco
leader,
años aquí
and I've
en
participated
Coffee
here
Power Pack.
in COFI Power Pack for 5 years.
Great, thank you all. So the first question I have is for the parent leaders in the report. Can you talk about some of the emotions or thoughts that you had when you read what your children had to say about your leadership and community organizing? What were some of your thoughts or emotions that you had in reading the stories, the things that your kids and your partners had to say or your family about your organizing and leadership in your communities?
Hi, everyone. Again, this is Katrina Faulkner. And for me, I would say it was very powerful and kind of speechless, and it brought tears of joy to my eyes to see that the work we do is making a big impact on my children and helping them to advocate more for their future as well.
What about you, Marisol? What were some of your
Bueno,
emotions or thoughts?
de mis emociones, pues yo me
Of my
sentí
emotions, well, I
ah,
felt
orgullosa, emocionada
proud,
de ver lo que
excited
expresaron
to
mis
see
hijos, lo
what
que
my children
expresó mi
expressed,
esposo.
what my
Me
um,
sentí con aquella
husband
alegría
expressed.
de,
I
de
felt
ver
that
que,
joy of
de ver
seeing
todo lo
that
importante que
all of the
ellos veían
importance that they
en su vida,
saw in me of how I felt, like how they saw my emotions. I felt really profoundly excited. I felt like crying when I was reading because it made me reflect on the good ways in which I have changed, but it also made me reflect on the things that I used to do wrong. And so I'm seeing my growth. And I didn't imagine that I would do all of this that we've achieved here in COFI. So now I feel motivated. I feel, um, more motivated to keep participating because I can see everything, all the impact, and I know that my children are there, and I feel like people always follow the example that they see. So I continue to reaffirm my commitment with Kofi because I know that my family is okay because I'm growing and I'm not growing on my own. I'm growing with my family with me. And we're giving that support for our community. So I've always said if a mom grows, the family grows and the community grows.
I love that. If a mom grows, then the family grows, and so does the community. Thank you. Thank you both. So, um, what about, let's talk about some of the things you hope that your children or other children will learn and continue to learn from the organizing of parents in local communities and across the nation. What are some things that you hope your children and others will continue to learn about organizing?
For me, I would say, this is Katrina, I would say it's okay to plan. And as my kids say, once you plan together, they'll be more open to speak out more, to bring everyone together in different states. So that's why their statement was we brought everybody together.
One of the core components of the COFI Way is like you mentioned, planning, right? Setting goals, small goals, and then a bigger goals with your community, and then, putting those goals into action through policy changes as well. And so you're saying that you want your kids to also kind of have that forward thinking planning, um, as they navigate life, right?
Yes, so definitely we learned from the Self Family and saying it worked well at home. We getting our composition to learn how to plan everything. My children still do this to this day.
I'm going to stick with you, Katrina, because I know you've talked about this several times about how you still have your Self Family Team notebook. Can you share a little bit about some of the things that you had in that notebook, a decade ago and are now, coming true for you and how
Yeah,
that's affected your family?
I can say we set goals. We had a vision of what we wanted to see within 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years, and for our family as well as for myself of me completing school and social work. I didn't know like it was my passion or everything I was doing until my mom had stuck it out. But when I wrote it out and made it plain, and even bringing the community together, this is what we've been doing for years, and it kind of worked out. When I went back and looked into that book, it brought tears to my eyes. Like, wow, we did it. We actually did it before 10 years, but it worked out. Uh, the web of support and learning how to do the one-on-ones as well, because I was first came in as shy and a little embarrassed of how I came in, but now I'm okay. I'm open to let everyone know, hey, if I change, you can too, and it can help for you and your family in the future. And never let no one tell you what you can't do, because we are living proof of what you can.
Thank you, Katrina. I'm going to now talk to the design committee members for a little bit. I want to ask you all, Miss Rose, Felipa, Lily, to share a little bit about what you learned while conducting interviews with other parent leaders and their children. What did you learn? What did you take away from that experience?
So I'll tell you what I'm learning today is that I really wish our amazing parents weren't so humble that they could really talk about all the amazing things that they do because I happen to know firsthand some of those things and I've seen the growth in their children and how the advocacy has shifted and manifested in the next generation. But I don't want to be the ones always articulating that. And so they are so very humble and so, but one of the things that I learned throughout this process is that parents are so resilient, but they're also supportive of one another and they help each other as well as their families and the communities that they live in to be able to thrive. And when the resources aren't there, as often communities are deprived of resources and the tools and all of the things that basically belong to humanity, they find a way. They help each other. They share information. They share resources. They'll pick each other up to take rides to meetings to educate themselves on different issues that are happening in the community. They're really a big, giant family. And I say that across the board because I know, well, I can't speak for everyone else, but with Power Pack Illinois, it doesn't matter what branch you're from. You might be in Aurora, you might be on the west side, you might be on the south side, you might be northwest, you might be Elgin. I'm not going to name all of our branches, but but the point I'm making is across the board, we want to see each other flourish. And so whatever things we learn, we share, we devote time to, we support. And I know in such a time as this, that's one of the most important things that can happen in this time is that we're more unified and not more divided. That's what society is trying to do, is trying to pit us against one another. And I have seen Kofi and Power Pack parents actually live the example of what unity can bring and what it can do, and not just in their communities, but systematically. And so it warms my heart. Some of our folks that we interviewed aren't on this call today, and I really wish they were. I think about Isaiah, who is raising his son, and he's raising his son to be a strong man, to be a gentleman, to walk with integrity. And he not only teaches him, but he walks the walk in front of him. And when I think about Isaiah's background, and one of his quotes in the book was, I was once a destroyer of my community. Now I'm a rebuilder. Oh, how that is so true. I'm a living testimony to have seen him walk in that journey and now do everything within. He's probably in a meeting now, which is why he's not here, because our folks are always doing something. But to actually have the privilege of watching that journey and seeing him bring other men along with him on that journey, I just can't say enough, so I'll stop talking.
I can just echo Miss Rose's words. Um, she's been here longer than me. Sorry, Miss Rose, to put you on the spot, but yes, it is. I've been with Coffee for 14 years, and I was kind of one of the first af after Coffee expanded to the suburbs. I live in Aurora, Illinois. And when I started, that was totally new for me. And my struggles were like so many before. After I have like a pattern, like how to grow your leadership, how to start, how to plan goals, and build relationships. That was the most important. Then when I start getting the trainings, and Marisol came like 5 years later that I came. So I saw myself reflected on her. I was on the interviews with her, and since I knew her beginning, the very first day that she came and joined the coffee trainings, the I was kind of like so proud, and I still so proud of her growth, her leadership, and not only that, but seeing the change in her family, and the family is seeing. So we are creating. We don't just sit there and wait for the change. We get up, and with the tools that Kofi had gave on us, we go and shake to we provoke the change. And when I see Marisol, when I was there at the interviews and with the kids, for me is just as transformative because it took me through my own journey. And Miss Rose is totally right. We don't just like look for our own growth, but we share it with others, and we grow together, and we share, and we support each other. Let's say Marisol, this time she couldn't because her car was broke down, and I don't see her at the meeting. So we started calling each other like, "Where are you not here? Did you miss this?" Sometimes I have a doctor appointment or something that we also had our families at first. So it's just like, okay, I call you later, I'll let you know, and we still share everything, so we are in the same page, and everybody, it keeps growing. So that's kind of like a domino effect. When you do the positive, it keeps replicating the transformation that one family has. And it's like, if my family did it, your family would be able to do it too, because we are no specials. It's just the willing to change. And I've been seeing the changes in many of our new leaders, and that's just an inspiration to continue to do this job. Sometimes I wonder, like, this is what I was born for. Yes.
You're so right, Liliana. And I think about myself and the reflection of my journey, and then you, the leadership that I saw in you when I don't believe you saw it in yourself, but I knew it was there. And then the leadership you've seen in others when they didn't believe it was there. And then the impact, another thing that really impresses me, and I know that our leaders, they don't brag on themselves. I think it's just in us, we just let our work shine. We don't really like to act but the relationships that they've built with legislators, how they go into those offices, and it is no longer a hierarchy, but they bring them into the family, they create relationships, they have conversations, they talk about what needs to happen, and they push for it. Just to think about the power that is within that. And these are folks who maybe wouldn't even talk at all in a meeting at one point in time. And now they're going in to challenge folks to do what they were elected to do, or the job or the role that they were put in to do. It's just so heartwarming. I think about Katrina, and when I say modest, Katrina's so modest. She's raised 1 million children that weren't her own, with love and care, and push them to walk in their gifts and their talents. And then she's always getting information. I don't think that I know anyone who has attended more meetings than Katrina. And it's oftentimes not for just her knowledge, but it's for her to bring back to the community and always push someone else that they're a leader. We could talk about things we assume or we heard, but I've witnessed these things firsthand, and it just makes me feel so privileged to be in the presence of, on a daily basis, of such amazing people who are unsung heroes, and the world may never know how fabulous they are. So I feel even more grateful to have had that honor.
And I said, I agree all of you, because we have a grand leaders in Power Pack. So what I learned from them is that, oh my gosh, they can be Uh, I have a lot of times on coffee, but I never, I never have the time to know them more. So that what I learn now is I know them a little bit more from the family, from what they do, why they have this. Um, can I speak in Spanish?
Sí, claro que sí.
Ok. Es que
Felipe, you know how we roll.
me emociona mucho
So I
cuando
get very emotional
hablo todo esto y
when
veo el
I
liderazgo de los padres,
when I
su
see the parents'
crecimiento,
leadership, their
después de
growth
que toman los entrenamientos de
after
liderazgo
they take the
y
leadership
hacen todo
trainings,
eso,
and
descubren sus destrezas que
then
tienen
they
y las ponen en
discover
práctica,
what their gifts are
no
and they put them into
solamente con su
practice,
familia,
not only
sino
within their
también en su
families,
comunidad.
but within
Y
their
la
communities.
gran motivación que tienen
And
ellos a seguir,
they have a great
que es lo que
motivation
descubrí,
to
tienen una
keep
motivación de
going.
corazón,
They have a motivation that comes from
lo
their heart.
lo ponen esa
They
motivación en
uh,
práctica,
they put
no
that
lo dejan
motivation into
ahí
practice. They
solamente,
don't just
sino que
leave it
lo
on the
sacan
side.
afuera, lo
If
enseñan a
not
sus
that
hijos, y sus
they
hijos van
share
aprendiendo
it
de
with
ellos.
their kids, and
So,
their kids learn from them.
están siendo
They're
un modelo
they're being a
para,
model
su familia,
for their
porque también
family
aprenden a hacer
because they also
muchos
learn
espacios, entre
um,
cómo ser líderes y cómo
so
tener el tiempo
so
para
that
estar con tu
they're
familia.
learning how to be
So,
leaders, but at the same time they're learning how to make time to
ser
be
un
with their
líder no es
families, because
fácil,
being a leader isn't
hay que
easy.
tener muchos complementos, hay que
One
tener
has to
mucho,
complement a lot of things,
hacer muchos
and
arreglos en
you
la
have
vida
to
de uno
make a
mismo
lot of
para
arrangements
no
in your own
afectar a
life,
nuestra familia en manera negativa,
so
sino en
that we
manera
don't
positiva.
affect our families in a negative way, but in a positive way.
Y eso es lo que tenemos,
And
estos líderes son excelentes, son
these leaders are excellent.
en Power Pack tenemos muchos
In
líderes
Power
que son
Pack, we have
como
a lot
ellos
of
también.
leaders that are
Al
like them
descubrir sus
as
destrezas,
well.
empiezan a
Um,
ponerlas en práctica y a
when they
ponerlas también,
discover what their
a
skills are, they
compartirlas
start
con
putting them
otros
into
y hacer
practice, and they
cambios
start
en
sharing
sus
them with others,
comunidades
and they start
y en ellos
making
mismos.
change within their
So,
communities and within themselves as
eso es lo
well.
que yo aprendí de ellos
So
y
that
quiero
is what I learned
seguir
from them.
aprendiendo porque
And I want to
cada
continue to
día
learn
es
from
un día
them
nuevo en
because
el que
every
nos
day is a
enfrentamos
new
a
day.
nuevas cosas y
And
nuevos
when we come
cambios.
across new things, new
Entonces hay que ir
changes,
aprendiendo,
so
pero
we have
trabajando
to keep
juntos.
learning, but working
Y
together.
ahora en estos tiempos que son
And now,
difíciles
during
que
these
tenemos,
times that are very
como lo dijo
difficult,
Rose, nos quieren
as Rose
separar,
said,
pero en
they want to
realidad
separate us. But
no
in
nos
reality,
importa la raza, el
we
color,
don't care
el
about
idioma.
race, color, language.
So, si trabajamos juntos,
If we
tenemos el
work
poder.
together, we have power.
So, vamos a seguir adelante
So
con
we're going to
esto.
keep
Espero que
making
esto no
progress with
llegue
all of
aquí
this.
solamente,
And
sino
I
que se
hope
siga
we don't
ampliando
only
a más en todo el
progress
mundo,
here, but that we
que
can
llegue a todas las
make this
personas que
reach the rest of
podamos,
the world so that it can
porque
reach
ese es nuestro
everyone we
poder y
come in
ese es
contact with,
nuestro
because this is our
enfoque
power.
de
This is
motivación,
our
de
motivation
establecer
and
relaciones y
focus,
de llevarlo en la
establishing
información y
relationships
enseñarlo a nuestros
and
líderes futuros, que
teaching
son
it to our
nuestros
future
hijos
leaders
o
who are our
nietos
kids or
o
grandkids
sobrinos, lo que sea, pero
or
nuestros
nieces and
jóvenes que
nephews,
van creciendo.
but our youth who are growing up now.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Felipa. And thank you, Miss Rose and Lily and Katrina and Marisol. So much was said. I just want to emphasize a couple things that landed with me in particular. One of the things you said, Felipa, was around how the work is difficult and how you have to be very intentional in the way that you do the work so that your family only receives the, you know, the positive aspects of organizing. and how organizing can be done in a way that is supportive of family, right? Instead of straining it more. And so that's really, really important. So thank you for highlighting that because it is very rewarding work, but as the parent leaders on this panel will tell you, it is also a labor of love. It is hard work, takes determination, tenacity, if you will. And so thank you for doing that. I'd love to invite folks to put questions in the chat for our panelists or for me about the research or any clarifications that we can provide about the project in general. I'd like to just open it up. There's also a way for us to unmute your audio. So if you really want to speak, we invite you to just let us know in the chat or um, in the Q&A.
Thank you to Ellen. She's also doesn't like to take the credit that she deserves, because she everything started because she had a dream so many years back. And that's why we need one dream that things can change. And it wouldn't be possible if she wouldn't dedicate it, not only her time, her studies, her resources, to build something like this, like 30 years. We're gonna be celebrating 30 years of coffee. And with that, so many parents have learned new skills, have learned the leaders that they are. So it's how important is investing and believing that parents deserve better. And when you invest in parents, those kind of trainings wouldn't have the same effect if no one would talk about us. When someone thinks of the parents, the challenges, and especially those communities, the most disadvantaged communities, someone took the time to create something for them. And I will say it here. Thank you, Ellen, for that decision, because for me it changed my life, and it's changing so many other lives. Trusting the power that the parents has to the core. Thank you.
I would like to say thank you all for giving me a chance. I remember once being the person that's incarcerated. When people hear that you've been incarcerated, they say, "Oh, they're the troublemaker. They're gonna repeat the same cycle. They don't believe in doing this and that." And you guys gave me the opportunity no one else would, to show like, hey, just because somebody labels you and put a record in somewhere, that doesn't stop what God has for your calling. And I can say, without you guys, I probably wouldn't be here today. I'd have came from walker, cane, crunches, COVID, paralyzed. And I know people came out for money, but without you guys, the hospital didn't give me therapy. The outreach work we did was the therapy I got back to, in order to come from where I was at with a cane outside to now I don't need the cane. And I appreciate everything you all are doing, because what you do is helping me to help others as well, to know like, yeah, you start from the bottom, but look at you now. I was told once upon a time that I wouldn't be anything, and look at me now, the Head Start ambassador, solar ambassador, the vaccine ambassador, the first third branch delegate governor. I also came from that to Health, Food, and Recess co-chair, and then to be last, the mental health and justice, which I've been fighting for mental health for a lot of years. And without you guys and my daughter open up, like, hey, children to adults, and she's saying something I didn't do. And she started coming in from when she was 3 years old with us. So that was just powerful that we are all able to do all that. And it takes an impact on us and our family and the rest of the communities. I mean, not just where we're at, but worldwide. So again, thank you all.
I was notified that Pamela has her hand up, and then we can go to the question that Joanna dropped in the chat. Pamela, did you want to unmute?
Sure. Good afternoon, ladies. I am so glad to be on this Zoom today. There was no way I could not be on it. I want to first just say thank you to Ellen Schumer. Ellen's vision, I mean, it has just grown exponentially. I got involved with COFI in 2000. I worked with another agency, but we partnered with COFI. And so I think I'm on long before many of them. Miss Rose came before I stopped interacting with COFI, but I've seen so many. The testimonies that you all are giving are just truthful, on point. And it's because of COFI, it turned a lot of mothers and fathers' lives around. Just because one of the things I would tell parents when, as far as working in the schools, the front office can treat parents terribly. And many of you, or some of you, remember Tammy Love. And Tammy was an organizer, and she got involved, didn't want to get involved because she had a real bad experience at her school at that front desk. And so she said she was never going to get involved. And somebody approached her about COFI, and she got in, and I mean, she was on fire. So, and Katrina, her testimony, just everyone's testimony. And we saw that as we sat around tables and we met and came to schools. I just think COFI is just awesome. I mean, it's really awesome. I'm glad I was a part of it. And it was real interesting. Just yesterday, a woman that I know told me about, I moved, I was in Inglewood, moved out of Inglewood, I'm back in Inglewood now, but I'm right down the street from this Nicholson school. And she said, Pamela, you ought to apply for community, for the local council as a community rep. And I said, I'll think about it. I wrote a note. And then today I wrote another note. Oh, maybe get COFI back involved in Nicholson School. So, things happen for a reason. And I just want to say congratulations to you all. The report was really good. And someone put it up in the chat, the picture of where you could get a copy of the results. I was trying to take a picture of it before I could get it. It was gone. So if you can repost it, that would be good. But I just had to say congratulations to each one of you. Jennifer, I don't know if I've met you over the years. I went to the anniversary that was over at the Mexican museum. So that was about 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm.
Almost 10. I was
Is it that
there.
long? Girl, I don't know where these years are going. So again,
It was
thank
the
you.
20th anniversary. Yep, I remember.
Okay, keep up the good work. And one other thing too. See, and I had another benefit because I drug my grandchildren. So they got a chance to participate and volunteer. So the whole family can experience the goodness and the joys and the education of COFI. So I just want to say kudos to each one of you and tell Ellen I send my love and hello. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. We dropped the report link again in the chat, and we'll also be emailing it out to folks who joined the call today. I want to go to a question asked by Joanna Geller for the panelists, specific to the design committee members. Your commitment and contributions to this research was so extraordinary. Why was it important for you to be so involved in this research project?
If I could, okay, go ahead, Miss Rose.
No, go.
Well, for me, it was important as it wasn't something that was planned overnight. Every time we were meeting, for me, in my head was the seeing the whole picture, and it's like we have the opportunity to highlight the journey of the parent leadership, and not often it's told. Sometimes you highlight a necessity, or you highlight, oh, we need to advocate because we need funding for something, but not often it's seeing the journey of the parent leadership, because it didn't happen overnight. It's a process. But when someone gives us the opportunity, if it means a lot for a parent, especially if you're always being challenged through different systems that doesn't work for you and nothing happened. When you had the opportunity to highlight, even though with those disadvantages or with those challenges, still the parents and their families flourish thanks to a leadership training. For me, that was so important to be put out there and being told. That's why I was so committed for 2 years. It was a long time. Sometimes we didn't have enough time, or I had to work, and we had to just um, try to work different times, different dates, but it was worth it. And thank you, Jennifer, for believing that in this project, because your investment, your time also says a lot. And well, thank you to everybody that make this project possible, because with that, all the coffee stories were highlighted. In those journeys, if it will be, at a different platform now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let me start by saying this is my heart. I wear a million hats. So nationally and then I'm also a COFI trainer, but far beyond that, I was a COFI participant. And so I know for a fact that they meet you right where you are. They met me at death's door and they still pushed me beyond what I thought my limitations were and encouraged me. And I know they regret it now you created this monster, Kofi you. But I began to see that it is all connected, that there are a lot of stakeholders and no role is more important than the other. They're just different. And I started to see the lack of respect for how crucial parent voice is in all of the systems, all of the policies, especially by the ones who are directly impacted by these very issues that other people are trying to figure out the answer. And we already have it if you would just listen to us. And then I knew that there were amazing partners who were on the battlefield with us that maybe we didn't see that connection. And so it's been a life mission of mine to be a web weaver of sorts, to connect the dots, to unsilo us, to get us working together, to get us all to understand how amazing our roles is and how they need to be put together so that everyone wins. That's my mission. My goal is so that everyone wins. We're all human beings and we all should be treated as such. We all should benefit in those ways. Everybody wants to raise their children to be loving, kind, happy people. Everybody wants their communities to flourish. Everybody wants our country to be great for real. Everyone wants all of these things, and we, for the most part, have the same values in common, but there are barriers that have kept us from seeing each other as just that. So, even beyond this amazing project, I'm on that battlefield for life until my last breath. And today, my breath has been challenged by asthma, but I'm still going to do whatever it takes until we can all get on one accord and really be the wonderful human beings that we are for generations to come.
Thank you so much. Last opportunity for folks to drop any questions or reactions in the chat.
Um, so voy a decir algo bien.
I'm going to say something.
Lo que me hizo a mí participar en este proyecto
What made me
es
participate in this project
conocer más las destrezas que tienen los
is
líderes, las
to
personas,
to learn more
y
about the
hacer
skills that
que
the
sus
of
voces
leadership that other people have.
y hacer que con esas destrezas, ellos conociendo sus destrezas, van a poder hacer sus voces
And
escuchadas. No
and now that
solamente,
they have and see how that with the skills that they have learned, leadership skills, they are going to be able to make things happen.
no solamente haciéndose escuchar en su comunidad,
Not only
sino
making
también
themselves heard in
en
their
ellos
community,
mismos personalmente.
but personally,
Haciéndolos grandes en el aspecto de que pueden participar en las decisiones que se toman en
in
las
such a way
mesas.
that they can participate in decisions that are made at the tables where decisions are made.
Porque el
Because
aprendizaje es primero el aprendizaje y el desarrollo de destrezas para
Learning
ponerlas en práctica. Y
is
ellos
first,
tienen
and then the
mucho,
development of skills to put that into practice.
nosotros pues
And they
tenemos
have a
muchos
lot.
destrezas que a
We
veces
have a
no
lot of
utilizamos
skills that
porque
sometimes
no
we
las
don't use
encontramos, no las hemos encontrado.
because we haven't
Pero
found
cuando
them in
nos
ourselves yet.
educamos y tomamos
But
todo
then we
esto
educate
en
ourselves and
serio,
we take all of this
en
seriously
motivación y poniéndolo en una manera
as
estable,
motivation,
podemos hacerlo y podemos llegar a
uh,
donde sea que
then
lleguemos.
we can
Y
do it.
también
And
esto es para
this is
demostrar
also to
que demostrar a muchas
demonstrate to a lot of
fundaciones que piensan que los
foundations
padres
who think that
no tenemos
parents
esas destrezas o no
don't
tenemos
have, we don't
ese
have these
ímpetu
skills
de ser
or
líderes y de hacer el
that
trabajo,
impetus
de
to be
tener todo ese
leaders,
conocimiento,
that we don't
porque
have that
a veces
knowledge.
nada más es a nivel profesional, ¿verdad?
Because
Pero
sometimes not on a professional
tenemos
level, right? But
nosotros tenemos el conocimiento de la vida
we
real
have
que
knowledge about
sucede en la
real
comunidad.
life that that is
Entonces,
happening in our community. So
si estos proyectos siguen, a mí me gusta
if these projects
hacerlo de corazón,
continue, I
seguir
would like
haciéndolos,
to
porque hay
continue doing them from my heart
muchos líderes, muchos personas
with
con muchas
many
destrezas que
leaders
tienen
and
que
many
descubrir
people
a sí mismos,
who can discover
¿no?
themselves through learning these skills.
Thank you, Felipa. We would love to have been able to interview every parent leader at COFI Power Pack, but you can get a glimpse of a snapshot of 5 families that are organizing across their communities through the report that we've dropped in the chat, and we'll also email. And I just want to send my thank you to everyone for joining. And I'm going to pass it on to our board member, Henrietta Sanders, to close us out here with a call to action. Hank?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I'm supposed to do a call for action, and I'm like ready to jump out of my seat and go do Kofi stuff right now because it's so motivating and wonderful to be part of this. Even in the webinar, I feel really part of the relationships that you are building and you're describing, you're sharing so graciously. You do us a favor, all of the leaders do us a favor by sharing their experience with both their families, their communities, their legislators, and with anybody else. It's very inspiring. I hope that everyone on the webinar will make sure that they are connected to COFI on the social media, on the mailing list, read the follow-up email you will get, and share it with others. The times we are in demand that we band together. This is exactly the heartwarming, powerful way that we can do that through the COFI Way and the COFI organization and the parent leaders in Illinois and elsewhere who are using COFI training. You can follow COFI, you can follow the NYU Parent Powered Project on social media. You can mark your calendar for June 4th for the 30th anniversary party that you will hear more about and celebration. You can support it with money and by coming. And those who are able to help others get to training, let's do that. It's really important, and this is the way our children will thrive, right? So thank you. Everybody's available for questions. You know how to find us. And I'm so indebted because I'm going to have a great day. Thanks to you all. Take care.